Hi, this video is explaining the key features of our DDTR laser tag system. This video will be useful to help you set up your laser tag guns for battle. So I will be explaining the rundown of weapon type, game setup, difficulty, audio, and the utility functions of our software. These are the main key points to help set up your game. Now, there is zombie functions in the software, but I won't be doing them in this video. I will redo a new video just for zombie gameplay. Okay, now, turn the key on and hold the trigger to get down into the menu of your gun. Now we come up with the white menu set up here. We use the red and black buttons at the bottom and the trigger to adjust the settings. There is configures. I will come back to that after I've shown the other features. First off, I will explain device. Pull the trigger and you'll come up with another sub menu with weapons, mines, and boxes. Now, I'm just going to go through weapons because we're setting up the guns, not the utility boxes like medic, combo boxes, ammunition boxes, claymore mines, etc. Alright, we pull the trigger and we go to another sub menu here. And this is where we can select from a few different gun types. Machine gun, which is your heavy machine gun, submachine guns, rifles, handguns. Each one of these have different weapons in the sub-menus with different features of rate of fire, sound effects, and reload times. So I'll do submachine gun because we've got a Mach 11 here, and see a few different types in the submachine gun: Scorpion, P90, Thompson, MP7, and of course the Mach 11 down the bottom. It has a tick, so that means this weapon's already been selected on this gun, so it's selected a Mach 11. But we'll go through it again. So we'll pull the trigger again, and here we go. This part is where we can select how many magazine reloads you want on the gun. This one is set at 508, so that's a lot. We can use the black button to decrease it right down to 0, and the red button to go right up to 1,000 reloads. So I'm just going to put it back on the 500 reloads for now. This is good just for beginner games that people that use a lot of ammunition during the game. Here there's two functions: muzzle flash and the headlights. So that's the color that the LED will emit out of the barrel, and also the player, when they get hit by the head sensor, it will flash indicating that they've received the hit. Now, the muzzle flash has three different colors. You have the red, so we pull the trigger, we use the black button, red button to cycle. Pull the trigger on the muzzle flash and you'll see it'll change to white. So that means that's a white muzzle flash light. You can have blue, and you can have it off. So there will be no visible light actually coming out of the muzzle when you shoot when it's off. So we'll leave it at red. And this is the headlight LED. So this is the head sensor here. What color will flash when you've been hit? So we only have two colors, which is red and blue for teams on the head sensor, but you'll notice it'll say red off, and you pull the trigger again, blue off. So that means the headlight sensors stay off until the player has been hit by another gun, and it will flash blue or red. It'll do two flashes when you're hit, and then it'll go off again, and that will continue until the player runs out of lives and then that headlight will turn on a solid color, and that's indicating the player is dead and needs to respawn. Now that's with them off. You can also have red and blue on. So basically that means the opposite. The headlights will stay on all the time, indicating red or blue, and they will flash on and off when you get hit, and then become switched off when the player is dead or deactivated, run out of lives. So this feature is very handy when you are running indoor, say a dark room, or at night, where you want the players to know where so when the player can see where everybody is on the field. That really helps at night to enhance the gameplay, and also just enhance the gameplay really. And the last function, okay, I'll put this one back onto red off, so that's just the standard. We have here the vibration feedback. All of our DDTR guns are fitted in the handle here with a vibration motor. So when you fire the gun, the player will feel a vibration through the handle as you're firing. Some people don't like this function, so you can, in this menu, with the trigger, switch it on or off. So you can have it off, and your player won't feel any vibration through the handle until they are hit, and they'll feel a small burst. We'll get into that later. This is just to control when you're firing the gun, the vibrations through the handle. Now, once you've set all this up, go back up to the top, and if you haven't got this weapon selected already, it won't have the tick up in the corner here. This one has, because it's already been selected, but we'll select it again, and it'll take us back to the start, the root menu.
Selected Micro Mac 11.
Hold the trigger then, and it'll display the gun, so you know that you've selected the Mac 11. Press the trigger again. Now we're back at the start. We'll move on to the next menu item, which is the game setup. Pull the trigger. Now this is where you change the dynamics of the game. So with our system, you can run 4 continuous games of Team A and B at the same time without radio or guns crossing from game to game. So you can cycle through the trigger to game 1, 2, and 3. Now this is important if you're only running one game, one lot of guns of Team A, Team B, or say all the same team and friendly fire for like a free-for-all. You must have every gun selected on the game 1. If say you have 10 guns in the field and you have 8 set on game 1, 2 set on game 2, the 2 guns that are selected on the game 2 here will not interact with the other guns. They will not take hits, they will not make hits, and they won't receive radio commands. So that's a very important thing, that you make sure all your weapons are set on the same game. Unless you have, say, a big venue and you're running 40 guns and you're running 4 teams of 10, that's when you want to run the 4 different games and have 4 referee controllers. That's when you're thinking big venues. If you're only running up to the 20 guns and the 2 teams or free-for-all, make sure they're all in the game 1. We'll move on to the teams. So as I explained before, in the same game, you can have Team A and Team B. Now, this is for team deathmatch and games like this where it's team orientated, and you can also select with this function, I'll go down, friendly fire on and off. So I'll explain that in a second, but this is to separate the 2 lots of teams' guns to run those types of matches. Zombies, as I explained at the start of the video, I'm going to do a separate video on this because there's a lot more to be explained as well. So we'll bypass that one for now. And we'll move on to the lives. Now this sets every individual gun's life points, hit points, health. Whatever you like to call it, that's what it is. So this is how many points before the player becomes dead or deactivated and is out of the game and has to respawn their gun or referee, you know, however they like to run it, whether they respawn the player or they are out. So you use the trigger here, you cycle down with, of course, the red and black button to the lives, and you use the trigger to cycle through. So we're on 5. It'll go up in 1s to 10, and then once you get to 10 lives, it'll start going in. Oh, sorry. It goes in 1s up to 20, and then it will start jumping by 10. So it'll go 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, so on, right up to 100 lives. Now once you're at 100 lives, if you click the trigger again, it'll go immortal. So that means this gun cannot be killed or deactivated. It has unlimited lives and invincible. So that's how that's set. And then once you pull the trigger again, you'll bring it down to the 1. So it goes the 1, so 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 20. Once you get to 20, it goes into 10s to 100 lives. And once you get to the 100, it goes the immortal, if you wish. And then it'll cycle back down to the 1 life again. Now, you have your time. You can set the game time individually with the guns. So if you only want to run a 5-minute match, you can set the time here. Now this isn't a very important function if you have a referee control, master control unit. This will just be left untimed, and the referee will set the time via RF. So you don't have to worry about this unless you're running 1 or 2 guns that don't need a master controller and you're only having a small little match. So that's always just left untimed on the gun and controlled by the master controller normally. Difficulty, we'll move on to this. Now this will open up another sub menu. Once you click the trigger, you'll have a few different options here. So of course you have your difficulty. So this will set the gun. Basically it's the time between the player getting hit. So say there'll be a longer period that the gun will receive hits. So it'll be ouch, and then wait, and then you'll get hit again. So there'll be a delay between hits. Now that's on easy. So that makes it easier for inexperienced players to run and find cover. This can be changed for your more experienced players. And you go on to medium. So that hit delay is reduced. So the player has less time between hits. So this makes it harder to find cover while you're taking hits. So you will die faster. And again, we go up to the next one is hard. There is really no hit delay. So it'll be ouch, 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 dead. If you have a lot of cover, a lot of fire on you, you can't get cover, you will die very fast. This is good for your experienced players that want a bit more challenge in the game. Normally, easy's fine, and that's good for just your general gaming, not the experienced gamers. So this is just your general gaming. Always leave it on easy. It makes the game more fun, less respawning. Alright, then we'll move down to the range. Now the range sets the distance. Now it sets the distance of the infrared beam that comes out of here. So this is useful when you have gaming indoor or at a small venue. So with infrared, indoors and high powered, because our guns were originally designed for outdoor, but we have put this feature for indoor. You don't get ricocheting IR. So this means on high power or long range, I can shoot at a white wall and a gun will get hit behind me, because the infrared power is set very, very high for long distance outside. Now, with the trigger, you can cycle through to short range. This reduces the power of the IR, meaning you will get less range out of the weapon, and outdoors, not advised. So it'll reduce the power down. Indoors, this is very useful. This makes it a lot funner and not so much ricocheted fire. So it will be much more accurate on the target gun you're trying to fire at. So you will have to be more accurate indoors, and it's for shorter range games and venues. So that just makes it fairer on the other players, that there's no bouncing IR fire behind them, around them, when they're actually got cover. So short range is indoor, and this is very, very handy for that. And you can have medium range if you have say a larger scale indoor venue, a little bit bigger, you need that little bit more power. Medium, if you're always playing outside, especially in the daylight, leave it on long range. You'll get the maximum distance out of the infrared, and just suited for big fields. Shoot to kill function. This is the next one down. This will make this gun, when selected on, this gun will instantly kill another player, regardless of how many life points they have. It will take everything off and make them dead. So it's literally shoot to kill. One shot, one kill. Very useful in VIP games and other style games where it's a lot of people versing minimum, say 2-3 people versing 10. It's a very, very useful function there. It just puts a little bit more challenge in the game. But if you don't want to use it, leave it on off. The guns will act as normal and take 1 hit point off per hit. So 5 lives, it will take 5 hits to kill or deactivate the gun. Friendly fire. I explained this before when I was talking about the teams. Now, friendly fire can be selected if you're running all on Team A, or also all Team A and Team B. This function, when cycled by the trigger on and off, will make this gun will then, or all guns will shoot each other regardless of the teams. So a Team A player then, with this on, can shoot another Team A player, and also Team B player. So that's friendly fire. So your teammates can hit your guns. Again, a little bit more challenge when you're playing games, but also useful to set for a free-for-all game. So a free-for-all game, you have all the weapons selected on Team A and friendly fire on. Everybody can hit everybody, regardless. So that's that. And if you cycle it back to off, this will mean when you're running the Team A and B games, Team A player cannot shoot another Team A player, but then can shoot a Team B player. So that's just to stop accidentally hitting your teammates during the game. Now we'll go back to the previous submenu, and we're going to cover audio now. So we'll pull the trigger and we're in another submenu. Now this is to change the volume or the speaker output level. So you can have high, medium, and low. This is just for environment. Oh, and also, and you can have it off. So the gun will not have any audio will still function and do everything, but it won't have any audio or any feedback sounds. So this is more an environmental. So say you have an outdoor venue and background noise, so on. It's good to have it on high so everybody can hear the guns being fired. Makes the gameplay much better. But say you've got an indoor field in a closed-in venue, you might want to set it on low because you'll have a lot of echoing noise, so on. You may need to, it's a school or a residential neighborhood and you don't want to make as much noise as the gun can. You can adjust it down so the gun's much quieter. So that's what that function's for. We'll leave it on high and we'll go down to the hardcore mode. Hardcore mode. This will change the audio and display pictures of the weapon. So say you have a younger crowd of kids and you don't want the blood and gore so much that comes with the hardcore mode on. So hardcore mode on, you will have like the hit sound when a player gets hit will be ow, you know, like a scream sound, more realistic. Also, you'll have the skull and bones at the end when the player dies at the image. Some people may not like this, and instead of saying, also, I should have covered, when you're shooting between with hardcore mode on, it will say hit confirmed. So that's telling you that you've hit another player. This will also be adjusted when you turn it off. So that's okay for the older kids, but if you're playing with a younger crowd, a bit more sensitive, you can turn it off. So the sound effects, instead of being so realistic when you get hit, it'll be just a ouch. A bit more friendly. And also when you die, the face will have just a cranky little smiley face. Bit more friendlier. And also, instead of saying hit confirmed when another weapon shoots another player, it'll say tagged. Up to you. It depends on the crowd of people. You can leave it on, off. That's up to the operator and the crowd of people that you're running it with. Alright, next one down is the voice feedback. This means this is using the radio, and when you're shooting another player, this is the confirmation that you've made the hit. The gun will play an audible noise with the, as I said just before, the hit confirm or the tagged, just to let you know if you've shot another player. So that can be switched on or off. Again, up to the operator and how the kids like to play it. Some people don't like it on, some people do, because it's a great way to know that the player knows when they've hit another player, and it makes the gameplay much more enjoyable. So that's that function. Always, regardless of that feature, I'll just add this as a note, the gun will still transmit the radio between the two players and will register a hit on the player's gun. So it will still be counting the amount of hits that you've made. That takes the audio out of it. Alright, we'll go back to the top menu where we started. Sorry, arm's getting a little sore. We'll go down to the utilities. I should mention the ref mode. I'll just on there. Now we can cycle through this with the trigger again on limited or full. This features in our software. All of our gun range has the same software. This just activates the referee, the master controller mode. So any gun, any box can be turned into a referee or master controller, whichever you like to call it, to control the games. So say you have a purpose-made referee that we sell, battery's gone flat on it. You can grab another weapon, another gun, another box, boot it up, turn this feature on, and you can still control the game with it. And I'll also do another video explaining all the referee controls. I won't cover it in this one because this video is already getting pretty long. So I'll make a separate one explaining all the referee functions and how they work. We'll move on to the utilities. Here we have a few functions. Time and date, you really don't have to worry about that. That's a company, that's what we do in the factory to set them up. I'm not going to cover it, don't need to change it, and it doesn't really affect the gun at all. It's just internal workings of the software. We have a few different languages that will change the audio into a language of your choice. So say English, which we have down as the UK, isn't your language. We have a few different ones: French, German, Spanish and Chinese, quite a few to go through. It will just change the sound effects that the gun makes into those selected languages. Good for our international customers that don't speak English. Display angle. This is the next one down. We'll also cycle through at the trigger. This will physically change which way the whole display is showing. So this is our 90 degree. There's a base starting point, technical again, of the display, which it is displayed this way. So you can change it around to 180 degrees, 270. It will rotate the actual screen around different angles. This is more used because our software is the same each gun that we make. Some guns have, or boxes have, different display positions. We can just change it around so you don't have to change or order separate displays. One does all. This is just an internal way of changing the direction of the display. We'll move down. Default reset will just reset all the settings that we've talked about in this video. And don't really want to hit that at the moment. We've spent all the time setting this up. We've got the scope color. Our scopes internally on the red dots have two different colors, red and green. This is your option here to change the color between the two, red and green, just by the trigger. Simple. Some prefer green dot, some prefer red dot. Just user preference there. Now, on to the last one is the ID. Each one of our guns run a radio system. This is an individual ID that is set per gun, so they all know who's who. Depending on how many guns you have, depending on the IDs you'll set and where you want to set them from, each gun has to be different. We always start gun 1, say you have 10, gun 1 to 10. So got gun ID, we'll click into it, it comes up with another submenu, and you set it in ones. So you can change it from gun 1 and you will make it ID 1. Pull the trigger, ID 2, so on. So each gun has to have a unique ID set, so they know where all the hits are going and who's making and receiving the hits. This one was 1. It goes in 10s right up into the 100s. Goes up to 120. That's in your big fields when you have a lot of guns and a lot of utilities. No two gun or boxes can have the same ID. So that once, it's a little bit fiddly, but once you've set up all the IDs, you'd never have to be changed again. Hit the reset and it'll go back to 1. So that's what this gun was set at, we'll leave it at 1. I might do a video separate on all of this with a few individual guns, just explaining it more in detail. Only has to be done once. Once it's done, don't worry about it. Unless you buy more guns, say you have 10 plus 3 boxes in your armory, and you buy another couple, you can add them on at, say your last ID was 13, you can do 14 and 15. That's why we have the function of changing them. If you expand, decrease your armory, that's what that's for. Again, I'll do another video more in depth with that. Alright, go down to the top menu, and will take us to the root menu. That's all the features I'm going to run through in this video. This will get you up and running, no problems, sorting out teams. I'll do more videos with the zombie, which is a bit more complicated to set up, and I'll referee and an ID video come very soon explaining them in more depth. Now, one quick thing before I finish up, this last function down here, it says start game mode. You'll want that selected if you have a master controller. So once we save and exit out of this menu, the gun will go into its play mode. Setting the game mode means once it's on the red ready to start screen, the player cannot pull the trigger to start the game. All the buttons won't work until the referee hits start game by the broadcast, by the radio signal. That's when the game will start and the guns will go into the blue run screen. Now we have this, and we'll use the trigger to cycle it through, and it'll say test mode. Now this is very handy if you don't have a referee gun, or you want to test your guns or check all the functions are working fine. Once this is set to test mode and you save and exit, the gun can be started by a pull of a trigger. So that means you can go into the blue, from the red waiting to start screen to the blue play screen, and you can shoot, fire, everything. So that is good if you want to test your gun out and you don't worry about bringing your referee gun, etc, etc. You can just select this and start and stop the gun by the trigger. Leave it on game mode because we're going to run it with the ref. Always important, once you've gone through and done any changes to your software settings, is to save and exit out of it. And again, I missed the configures. That is too big for this video too. I will do another video soon explaining the configure function of our DDTR software. We'll just leave it set at 0 at the moment. Alright, save and exit and pull the trigger again. All your settings are now saved in the gun, and it is waiting to the ref to start. Ready to go. All done. Alright, look out for my next videos explaining all the other functions I have mentioned, and that's all for today. Thank you.